Renaissance Florence is often mentioned as a symbol of beauty, art, and human intellect. Stone-paved streets, perfect statues, and immortal paintings make people believe that this was the place where the light of European civilization was born. But behind that beauty, Florence also concealed another world. A world where power operated in silence, where luxurious banquets could sometimes become the final moment in a person's life. And at the center of that world stood the Medici family. The Medici family did not possess royal blood. They began as a banking family, but through their ability to control money and key relationships, the Medici gradually became the true force behind Florence. They did not need a throne or a crown. By controlling financial flows, important offices, and influence within the church, the Medici could decide who would rise and who would be pushed aside. And when power is built in the shadows, the methods used to protect it never appear in the light. During the years when Medici power was at its peak, Giovanni de' Medici was considered one of its most important pillars. He appeared frequently in closed meetings, making decisions that directly affected the financial and political life of Florence. Because of this, when Giovanni suddenly fell ill, the entire city entered a state of concern and unease. According to those who attended him, not long before, he had been completely healthy, clear-minded, and had just taken part in a formal dinner with close figures of the family. Only a few hours after that meal, Giovanni began to show unusual signs of rapid weakness. His complexion grew pale, his breathing became heavy, and his body quickly lost strength as if his vitality had been drained away. Physicians were summoned, but none of the familiar treatments produced clear results. What puzzled many was that Giovanni's condition did not unfold over many days or weeks, but declined with alarming speed. Before long, he left this world, leaving behind a major gap in the internal balance of Medici power. Official records stated that Giovanni died from illness, but those who witnessed the events firsthand could not help but feel doubtful. They whispered that if it had been an ordinary sickness, why did everything happen so quickly? In taverns and palace corridors, quiet discussions spread little by little, yet no one dared to speak too loudly, because in Florence, questioning the death of a Medici meant placing oneself under the gaze of invisible power. The story of Francesco Frere de' Medici caused even deeper unease among the people of Florence. At that time, Francesco was facing heavy pressure related to succession and complex political relationships within the family. His decisions affected not only Florence, but also the balance of power across the wider region. It was within this tense context that the incident occurred. According to records, Francesco and his wife rested together in a sealed room. By the following morning, neither of them showed any response. What shocked everyone was that the times of their passing were separated by only a few hours. Physicians were urgently summoned, but all they could do was reach the same familiar conclusion: natural causes. However, for many people, this conclusion was not enough to dispel the growing doubts. The coincidence in timing made the story feel even heavier. Immediately after the departure of Francesco and his wife, the balance of power within the Medici family shifted noticeably. Those who had previously remained on the sidelines quickly moved into central positions, while unfinished plans were quietly set aside. There was no public inquiry and no detailed explanation. All questions were buried along with the closed door of that sealed room. The people of Florence could only whisper among themselves that, within the Medici family, little ever happened without being tied to power and advantage. And the death of Francesco Frere de' Medici, like many other events, became a dark fragment in the larger picture called Medici, where silence could sometimes feel more frightening than death itself. The Renaissance was not only an age of art, but also an age of hidden knowledge. Apothecaries and scholars of that time understood very well the properties of herbs and essences that could slowly weaken the human body over time without leaving clear traces. The Medici family, with its wealth and power, had access to such knowledge earlier than almost anyone else. It was said among the people that they possessed sealed rooms where silent substances were studied and used discreetly. No force was needed, no horrific scenes, only patience and time would complete the rest. But the greatest danger to the Medici family did not come from external enemies, but from those who shared the same blood. In a family where money and power decided everything, affection gradually became secondary. Brothers distrusted one another. Descendants competed relentlessly for the position of succession. There were individuals who once stood very high within the Medici power structure, yet after a short time they vanished from the political stage as if they had never existed, and after each disappearance, someone else would step forward to fill the space left behind. Official documents of Florence often recorded these deaths with brief and cold phrases: illness, weakness, natural causes. Yet beyond those texts, there existed private letters, personal diaries, and accounts from attendants that revealed a different picture. History, after all, is always written by those who remain alive. And in the story of the Medici family, the survivors were often those who benefited the most from the departure of others. It cannot be denied that the Medici left the world a magnificent artistic legacy. They were patrons of geniuses such as Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, helping to create a brilliant Renaissance era. But alongside that brilliance existed another legacy, darker in nature. Stories never taught in textbooks and questions never fully answered. Florence today is beautiful and dazzling, but that beauty was built upon countless secrets buried by time. History tends to remember only what shines and appears grand, yet behind that light there are always long and cold shadows. The Medici family left behind not only paintings, palaces, and names, but also a question that has never received a clear answer. How many lives were exchanged to maintain that power? And perhaps some secrets of Florence will remain forever unspoken,